Na 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 na. Destination Eurovision semifinal 2 has just taken place. I am in London. Sebastian is down in Australia, and Angus, where you at?
London as well, baby.
There you are, going global, focused on Paris. We've got to discuss the 4 qualifiers in tonight's show. Topping the table, a woman who slayed at every turn, swept the jury with a perfect score of 60, I believe. Is that true?
Yup, that's true.
Yes. It is Seemone. You guys, the word is Adele. When I saw her, when I heard her, this was classy, classy Adele. She was giving me all the feels. She looked stunning. She was feeling every single word. What do you think of her, Angus?
I mean, this is the classic French chanteuse, but done with a 2019 twist, I think. I mean, you know, France has a great history of these women. They sing beautiful, sad songs about a major subject. And it is a very moving song. I particularly think the bridge, the bit where she just repeats Papa over and over again, has the potential to be really great and stunning. Staging-wise, this was a little bit flat tonight, I thought. I feel like there is a lot more that can be done to bring out the emotion of the song. However, I do appreciate the composition, the strength of it, and see why it swept the juries. This is very much a jury song. That being said, though, I think she was only like 3 points behind the televote winner. So, you know, she has broad potential. And yeah, big old Adele vibes, great voice. Maybe a few staging tweaks for the final, methinks.
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy it, but I was reading the tweets at the time, and I saw an interesting tweet that said like it was Poundland's Adele, which I don't think is fair to her performance. I thought it was a stellar performance. And when I think of France, I think of this kind of song. You are right in the sense of after 3 minutes, I was a bit just like, oh, you know, I've seen it already. And it could get lost amongst the sea of just bigger songs. But I think tonight, where there were a lot of bigger songs, it really stood out amongst the pack. They do need to fix up staging to make it a little bit more in your face, though.
Quickly, 3 comments from our readers. Sasa Tomanich says, Seemone, what a lucky papa. Adam Carlton says, I agree. She was good, but she wasn't my personal winner. And Yusuf says, Seemone is like a French Madeira, harking back to Supernova in Latvia. On her staging, I've got to say there were 2 things that I would change. The first is that I think halfway through the song, this trumpet player just appears. I'm like, it was all intimate with just Seemone and the viewer. And then this man's blaring on his trumpet. I was like, what? Where'd he come from? The other thing is, and this is not a staging issue, actually. This is the middle. She starts singing pop, 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 pop. I was like, dang, girl, mix up the lyrics. He's your daddy. He's your fatty. I don't know. It was just, I really like the song. It's just, there's a point where I feel like they've got to do something either visually or with production to keep it interesting. Because the repetition of Poppy towards the end, you know, I love her dad and all, but damn.
Yeah, completely. It reminded me a moment, though. I mean, you look at Madame Moncho last year with the Mercy, and all they have was a gesture, but then that becomes a piece. Something like that. I think the other thing with her is vulnerability. Like, we saw it at the end when she broke down in tears. It's like, oh, hello, North London fun. The sirens are coming to arrest me. No, vulnerability, I think, is something, because she's like broke down at the end. That was so moving. And I think more of that will make it a more raw, engaging performance people will buy into, because it's all well and good being kind of sad and emotive, but if you're not a human being underneath it, if it's almost too polished, that's a problem. But yeah, I think vulnerability could come to it.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Can't say any more on that.
Someone on our live stream, David he says, Papa is also the sound of the trumpet. So there's a mirroring effect going on. That's very interesting. Yes, indeed. And we've just got to say, the best part of this for me of the night, one of the best parts, was her reaction as the jury was giving her the points. She was clearly very touched. She was very emotional. she seemed surprised. It was like a sincere reaction. She's a very likable woman, a very, very likable woman, and a strong contender to do well in the final. Final thoughts on Seemone?
Yeah, I think this is good. I just think some staging tweaks and bring that emotional energy to the song itself. That will help with some of the sort of flatness that I think people have touched upon. She brings the tears, she brings the emotion, lets that come through. That's winning material, I think.
Yeah, I think comparing her with her closest competitor, genre speaking, which we'll get to very soon, I'm sure, Emmanuel, it's going to be a battle of the ballad between them two.
All right, and a final thought from Tom Stevenson. Controversial opinion, but for me, there is only Seemone who can do a top 16 at Eurovision. Provocative statement there. We turn to the second place overall, the televote winner. It is Emmanuel Moire with La Promesse. Now, I gotta tell y'all, he came out like 5 years ago, and it was very much in the media. Everyone was talking about this. And then in this song, he's talking about, you know, keeping a promise for a man. For a man, honey. And you also have some same-sex male dancers. Okay, pour un homme. I like the messaging, all of that. I've just got to be honest. I didn't think his vocals were on point. It really sounded at times like they were trying to rip the legs off a frog to make some, you know, frog's legs for some kind of meal. There was pain. There was agony. It was not always on tune. I know he's one of France's, like, he's an established star. I just wasn't feeling the song or the voice. He looks great, interesting choreography, but to close out what I have to say, I'm gonna show you a photo, and I tweeted this out on Willie Lee Adams. That is my Twitter. That is Willie Lee Adams. You can follow me, and I might just follow you back. I love you. Listen, this is the photo that blew my mind. This is when Seemone and Emmanuel realized that they had won. Can y'all see that? That he had, oops, let me. Okay, there you go. He looks shocked. He is like, WTF, and she is just grateful. Very sweet woman. I shared his emotion. I was really surprised this one, the televote.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think if you're going for falsetto, you can't fail on it because it's really obviously exposed if you've missed the note in a way that in lower registers it's perhaps not. And yeah, the televote surprised me more than anything because I thought the vocal was really exposed. As you say, it's quite an avant-garde stage work. It actually put me in mind of Jesus Christ Superstar, the musical. There's a scene where Jesus Christ is like stripped of all his belongings and like thrown down. So I didn't know if there was some quasi like imagery from that going on. Same-sex dancers are one good. The song is just a bit odd. I don't have a lot to latch onto in La Promesse. There's not like a hook or a melody that stays with me and has gone with me. If he has the established reputation, maybe that's a key. I think it is kind of quirky and kooky to look at. Like France has a history. Well, I say history, but I was actually thinking about all their avant-garde songs are like 10 years old now. But you think like Sébastien Tellier, like Le Facile Picard. They've done funky, weird stuff before, and that in itself is quite French and avant-garde. But yeah, it's just a bit of an odd one. I'm not really into it, but clearly French televoters are. So, you know, maybe there's something in that.
I don't know what was going on in the line to Sydney, but I thought it sounded pretty good. Or maybe I was just distracted by the visuals. I really liked the performance. I thought, okay, yes, I heard some moments where the vocals weren't the best, but it also showed like the raw emotional side of it. Like hearing him not being perfect in his vocals kind of fills the whole thing about, you know, promising a man, it may not be perfect, but we're going to get there. And also I tend not to like interpretive dance at Eurovision because it's been done to death. I think Always of Tanya's amazing, which just killed the idea of interpretive dance. But it worked here, I thought. Like when it kind of had that end moment where he was with the dancer, but then it split to himself. So it's not only a promise to your man, but it's a promise to yourself. There was a real message there. I thought that was really powerful. Agreed. I thought Seemone would probably kill the televote over this. And I thought for two pretty similar songs, Seemone would kill it. But I was impressed and really happy this did qualify.
So our viewers have a lot of comments. Arnaud Abadi, I think Emmanuel Moire didn't deserve that amount of points. Yusuf says Ryan O'Shaughnessy is greater than Emmanuel. Adam Carlton, he said he thought this would come 5th or 6th, but not win the televote. And Matt S. poses a very interesting question. He says, am I the only one who felt Emmanuel exploited his sexuality? Angus?
I don't know about exploited sexuality. It'll come up later with the Divas, but I actually think considering Eurovision has such kind of an affinity with the gay community, it's not often the case that that's put on stage. So in itself, I don't think it's exploitative. Like, the message of the song is very linked to the staging, so I don't think it's exploiting it. I just, yeah, like the whole piece was slightly odd for me, staging wise, but equally, I don't know, interactive dance, that piece was quite effective. Just there's a lot going on. Like, he starts in the neon box, then it becomes he's swaying with the dancers and he's all contorted, and it feels a bit kind of spaghetti syndrome of like they've thrown it all at the wall and are seeing what sticks, and it's actually like perhaps take 1 or 2 elements away, focus on perhaps the elements with the dancers, and that will be the stronger piece for it, I would say.
Yeah, I wouldn't say exploitative. Like, if you think about how many songs there are about a guy singing about a guy, there are none. And so it's really honing in the message. It's not necessarily exploiting it, I felt. So yeah, not exploitative at all in my mind.
William Savage says, Emmanuel's song would have done well about 10 years ago. Is he France's Will Young? And there are a lot of people saying that he won because he's famous. Again, Arnaud Abadi says he won the televote because of his stereotypical message and the fact he's quite famous here. Look, let me get some Batista Aquaviva. Delicious. Love Batista Aquaviva. Final thoughts on Emmanuel. I think that if it comes to Eurovision, who's going to do better, Seemone or Emmanuel? I think Seemone's song is in a way more mainstream. Obviously, there's no sexual element to it, but it's just a mainstream Adele type ballad. You know, soft, intimate, many people can access it. Or I guess with Emmanuel, you know, it's still very accessible and a very good song. I think fewer people can access it. So if you want to vote for the song that will do better at Eurovision, personally, I think that would be Seemone. Let's get a quick vote from each of you.
I think for me, Seemone is obviously the safe option. And, you know, I think we've seen, so the start of this decade, France liked to play things safe, and then things did not really work out for them that well. Equally, I think with a few tweaks in the performance in the song itself, that's stronger, because I think Emmanuel Moire is just quite divisive. Like, I don't think everyone will necessarily get it as like a concept. Like, I certainly don't have any idea what's going on in it. So yeah, I think Seemone probably the best option with some tweaks. However, tweaks would also help Emmanuel. But yeah, that's not really an answer. Seemone, let's be decisive. Better choice.
It's a risky one there. I think of Seemone as being very much like Norma John, like Blackbird. That looked real stunning in the national final, and we all expected it to do super well in 2017, but didn't even qualify. This could very much hold the same fate, get swamped by other performances. So for that reason, I'd say Emmanuel.
Ooh, drama everywhere, many different opinions. I asked our viewers here on YouTube, and Seemone was the overwhelming winner, but then people say actually Bilal should win. So we need to remember there's a bigger picture to all of this. In 3rd place, to me, this was the revelation of the evening. One of the biggest surprise for me thus far in national final season. It's the Divas with La Voix d'Aretha. Now, there's some backgrounds, you guys, which I don't know if this is public or not, but we have people on the ground in Paris. And today, or rather yesterday, the Divas didn't rehearse, and there was some kind of drama, perhaps with we don't know what the drama was, but it was something to do with the song, or the estate of Aretha Franklin, some kind of behind the scenes kind of controversy about them singing the song. Thankfully, everything worked out. They did perform, and they blew the house down. They made a song that could have sounded dated feel so current. It was like West End theater, Broadway, 3 beautiful women with the best harmonies of Destination Eurovision. Where are they going? They're not going to vocal class because these ladies can already sing. They brought joy. I loved how the camera focused on their hands at the beginning. You know, it was like some Michael Jackson realness, like Thriller. You were focused on a body part and it moved out. out. It just gave me so much life. It was so happy. You didn't want it to end. Aphrodite from Sweden, who? This blew that out the water. I'm loving the multicultural realness. Rouge, blanc, and bleu, and many colors, because France is many different people, y'all. It ain't just the Gabriellas. Oh, she's from Canada, but you know what I'm saying. I love the showcase of diversity, both musically and in terms of the people. They were just amazing. Final point for me, in their interview, the host asked them, what they want to bring to Eurovision, and they just said, these are difficult times. The world is troubled. We will bring joy. We want to bring happiness. And ladies, you did exactly that. Un, deux, trois, slay, slay, slay. Amazing.
So I will say about the Divas that the voice, like, you can't deny it. That was probably the best voice of the night. These ladies can sing. However, I do think the song is a classic Eurovision example of a song as a vehicle for a voice versus being something in its own right. Because I don't think there's much of like a melody there or a chorus. This is like a classic disco type song, show voice, which, to be fair, they can belt it out. They smashed it. They did a lot with very little. A lot of other acts tonight got big stage shows. When like Emmanuel Moire, we talk about, Gabriella, Hugo, some of the others had much more going on stage-wise, whereas they basically had like a glittery plinth they were all stood on, and that was what they did. Lots of nice nods, I think, to stuff like the Supremes. Like all the handwork is very of that 1960s girl band era, which I think clearly everything. And like the message, super important. I thought that was beautiful as well. They were showing the presenter, and we're also saying, France needs to see color. Eurovision needs to see people with different skin colors, because that doesn't really happen. So the message was great. They can really sing. The song is not that special, I have to say. Like, it is a bit of a carbon copy disco song. They elevate it through their vocal, but the package itself, it's really their voices that's what's driving it forward. And I don't think this is going to win in the final. However, great that they got there, because I probably would not have predicted it at the start of the evening.
Yeah, great voices, but cheesy AF. Like, it's not. It's something we've seen so many times before in like Dreamgirls. And when I think of like, okay, the voices are amazing, but what they were wearing tonight looked like something that, I mean, for RuPaul fans, like Monet Exchange would wear on a bad week. It just was not. It was nothing grand. It was nothing flashy. It was nothing special. We've seen it before, and I don't think this particularly feels French in many ways. And so I feel like this would just be on a Eurovision stage. This would just be like cheesy, kind of hark back to like 2000s Eurovision, which I think we've kind of moved away from. But vocally, completely on point. I'll give you that.
Camembert, Emmental, and Brie, the cheese will set you free. La liberté, honey. That's a poem written by me right now for you. Listen, I love drag queens. There is a drag queen quality to this, and that it's over the top. This is harking back to Dreamgirls, but Jennifer Hudson won an Oscar. Okay, girl won an Oscar. I like this. I like that these women from France are going to Detroit via Paris, okay? Ain't no TGV from Paris to Detroit, but they might just need to install one. This was amazing. I don't think this is the winner of Destination Eurovision, but I think it's great to showcase a bit of soul, a bit of harmony, and a lot of fun. This was just, it was very feel good, and I really respect that. Just gonna read you some comments quickly from our readers before we move on. Diego Mina says, La voix de Rita is very similar to Spirit of the Night. I'm not sure if I hear that.
I feel ya.
I see it.
Pesho says, the Divas really improved. Studio version was meh. Live was amazing. And Vincent Van Glow, amazing name, says, the dresses are catchy and it's a skip, but the song is so sketchy. I love it. Oh, sorry, catchy, not sketchy. All right. Well, from that surprise, I guess we can move on to another surprise. And this is Doutson. Doutson, innovative staging, himself as an adult, himself as a boy. Sois un bon fille, be a good boy. I guess he's talking to himself. I don't understand the lyrics. All I know is this really surprised me. I had like a mellow Jesse Matador vibe in the sense that this feels like it's bringing a different flavor that isn't stereotypically French. Like he's drawing, as Deben would say, on some Kinshasa realness. There's something else going on here, and I really liked it. Like, I don't know where he's from or what traditions he's drawing on, but this was fantastic. It just felt so alive, and I had written this off, to be honest. This was one of the ones I was the least bothered about, but when I watched it, it was the one I remembered. It was among the, the four that I remembered, so I think he deserves to go to the final, frankly.
Yeah, I actually think of the top four, like, songs that went through, this is probably the biggest radio hit of them. Like, it's the kind of sound of song that you would hear, like, in the charts and that. Yeah, I think he's very charismatic. The staging, I think, absolutely swung this for him, because I actually thought that was so smart and clever, the way they'd stitched that all together. And yeah, like, I think the song, it does sound the most radio. Does that make the most remarkable? Perhaps not. But yeah, like, he's charismatic, I think, did a great song with the performance. They have clever staging behind them. And yeah, like, another surprise, but I think kind of a pleasant one.
Yeah, I think Angus, you're right. Like, this was sold purely based on charisma, and innovative staging as well. Now, obviously, Eurovision fans were going mental on Twitter at the time, going, you can't do this kind of staging because you can't have children on a stage at Eurovision. So that will be a big problem for them, because that was really the selling point of this. Looking at actually the results, it's interesting. He came fifth in both the televote and the jury. So I felt this performance was quite middling, and that's exactly what the results indicated. He just snuck in there by 1 point, because the person who was coming second with the jury came second to last with the televote, and that's how he got in there. I can't expect this doing too well in the final, but hey, good representation of France right there in the final.
Adam Carlton says, I think the staging was too much. I wouldn't have put this through. TJ Santos, I really don't understand how Doutson qualified. Nandez, Doutson is better than Emmanuel. William Savage found it emotional. Okay. And Sasa Tomanic, Doutson is so overrated. Like, why? There's just nothing special about it. Well, of course, Doutson going through into that, Ugo did not. He was knocked out by 1 point. He says, Sukami bless, what hurts me? Well, I think Doutson hurts him in this instance. I've asked our viewers whether they prefer Doutson or Ugo, and it's actually surprisingly split. Ugo, Doutson, Doutson, Ugo. I'll just kick this off by saying Ugo is definitely telegenic. This is a kind of act you would see in Melodifestivalen, where all the fangirls go crazy. This is like a Felix Sandman situation. It felt very mature. He looks young, but he's able to emote. He has a very bright future. There is something very special here. The song for me is a little flat, if I'm totally honest. Like, it's fine. It's good. It's Spotify friendly. I think it could be a hit, but it's not something I would personally download. He was also deserving of a spot in the final, but there can only be 4, and he got pipped at the post. Angus.
I actually thought the staging for this was really beautiful. There were lots of, like, transitions. So it's like the rising sun at the start, then it changed to the image. I think it's like the girl, and there's like a candle or a flame or something. But, like, staging was beautiful. I actually thought, unlike some of the acts that went through, he hit all his notes. Vocally, I thought he was pretty good. And actually, I thought the song, for me, elevated. It's funny you mentioned Melodifestivalen, because I think there was kind of a professionalism to this that made me sit up, having not followed the songs too closely, and be like, wow, they've actually upped the level this year. This is like a good, strong, like you say, that's really on the nose of, like, the kind of caliber thing. But yeah, I thought his vocal was really good. The staging was great. I actually really wanted this to go through and was quite hopeful after the jury scores, and very disappointed that the televote came through as it did, because yeah, I actually think this could do quite well. It's very modern, it's very pop, but also there is something French about it. It has that emotional quality that the French language gets a lot better than English sometimes. Yeah, I thought this was very good, so quite hard done by to miss out by a point.
Where are the young girls at? Like, this is straight up Melodifestivalen. Felix Sandman could have absolutely topped it in the final. You even saw Krista Bjorkman giving it, was like 10 points, like, from Sweden. It was very, very Swedish, very polished. I thought his vocals were one of the strongest of the night. I agree, the song for me was just a bit bland, but he hit those falsettos. the staging was beautiful. It had like that whole female motif in the background, very artistic. And I am really disappointed this didn't qualify for that reason. It was faultless.
Wow, those are some very strong opinions. I'm just going to quote quickly Aisha 7600. She says, very pleased Ugo missed out. His song went nowhere and performance was flat. Reminded me very much of Felix Sandman. Mellow XX says, Ugo looks like Melovin from Ukraine, Eurovision 2018, so much. But for me, it felt like he didn't know how to behave on stage. All right, interesting points. We turn next. Now, this act is getting a lot of attention on Twitter and in our comments here. People are very upset that Gabriella from Quebec did not make it through with Cherche, Encore. She is still searching for a place in the final. People loved this. It was very bright. Her fiddle was original, for Destination Eurovision. There are not many fiddles coming out of France, as far as we know. But she sounded great. Vocally, she's on point. The three professional jurors who just offered their opinion, they really liked it. The judges, rather. But this didn't go through. I gotta say, the song for me, I wouldn't download this because I actually find the chorus slightly irritating. But I think she's very talented. I think she looks great, sounds great. And I think with another song, she could have a major impact. It's just, I find the chorus a little grating. It's kind of in your face.
I actually thought the in your faceness was the selling point. Again, having not followed it that closely. I mean, one of the whole things we always say about Eurovision is it's 3 minutes on one night. You have to grab people's attention. And I actually thought, dare I say it and be lynched, it put me in mind of cherche in that school of French Eurovision songs that I don't think sort of the two entries since then have had the same instant power in your face impact. But this just felt like the whole package. I was ready for that to be, Tel Aviv in May, and it'd be, here's the concert. We have and I was also like, this is a whole staging thing, because normally Big Five countries, and France is also guilty of this the past few years, staging has not been that revelatory and been a bit of a weak point. Stick an Eiffel Tower on it. It's kind of done. And I actually thought this whole concept was really well put together. Song was great. Loved the fiddle. I like it because she starts at the piano, then like this good movement, then suddenly she's got the guys playing underneath her. I thought this was really, really good and was certain to go through. So quite a shock. I mean, there's always casualties on the way to Eurovision itself. I just hadn't quite expected such a high-profile casualty off that. So yeah, this is one of those that will go down as a big sort of shooting yourself in the foot moment, I think, for France.
Yeah, my two favorites tonight didn't qualify, which is why I probably sound very bitter tonight. And Gabrielle is one of them. It's funny you say that, William, because this is the one song I have downloaded off of like Spotify. And it is a basic song, but I'm pretty basic myself. That's probably why I love it. It is very repetitive and it is in your face, but that's exactly what the crowd would be yelling back at a French song at Eurovision, because it is so accessible. You're just basically seeing the same words over and over again. It was stunning on stage. It was Ace Wilder done right. And bring out the fiddle, bring out the piano, show she's just not a pop star. She's diverse, she's talented. And yeah, I thought this was really going to top it. The judges loved it. And just unfortunately, both the juries and the televote didn't see much appeal in it. So super devo.
One's a topping when you need it. Now, there's some interesting comments from our readers. MJ and the ESC, our musician's best friends, says, I might be totally wrong, but could it be that she was underrated by the juries because she's not from France? That is very, very interesting. I hadn't thought of that. Andy Rosiaki says, I think perhaps singing first hurt Gabriella. It got lost being so early. It's a shame. And Panbox says, for Gabriella, I think the chorus was a blast, but maybe the rest was too whispered and not melodic enough to stand out. And that's, yes, I would agree with that. I think oftentimes at Eurovision, people want something melodic. And for me, it was a bit fingers on chalkboard, not because she was out of tune, but just because it was loud. Final thoughts on Gabriella?
Yeah, it's a mistake that she's not going to the final, I think. And yeah, going on first probably did not help matters because it felt like a really long show tonight. I think, was it like 2 and a bit hours from start to finish? So it felt like a really long kind of, because I think she had such instant impact that kind of was lost particularly because the divas came out and sort of bellowed everyone down. You got lost in that sort of vocal onslaught a little bit, I think, perhaps.
It could have gotten lost, but also the panel kept bringing it up throughout the whole show. They kept saying, Gabrielle is my favorite. Gabrielle is the best one. So I always thought it was still at the front of my mind. Yeah, I can't say anything else apart from devastated.
I just asked our readers, should Gabrielle have gone through, yes or no? And I just want to film. It is all yes, 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 yeah, and yes. Oh, there's one no. Okay, I'm gonna put this on Instagram. Oh, but I don't want it repeating. All right, next up, who was it? It was. Sorry, my Insta's acting up, y'all. Hello.
Was it
Philipelise?
Yeah, Madame Lapai. Yeah. She seemed to, I liked the staging, it was innovative. She seemed to be standing on a dock and like you could see this vista behind her. So it was like girl was ready to set sail or jump on a boat. To be honest, it did nothing for me. I didn't actually watch the whole performance because I just kind of, I don't know. I was singing Whiskey Cocktails, Rum, 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 and Philipelise and her Madame Peace. Yeah, she's a great singer. I think she's got a unique vantage point, viewpoint, execution. It's just not one that I'm keen to relive anytime soon. Angus.
I think these kind of avant-garde, which I've said a lot tonight, but these kind of quirky French songs always have a place in the French national finals, and how kind of France, because it's a very French style of music. It's like Amelie in pop song format. It's that weird, slightly offhand, quirky, I don't know what's going on. So yeah, there was the whole kind of kaleidoscopic background behind her of what was going on. It was very bright, it was very loud. Equally, I found it therefore quite hard to engage with because, having mentioned melody a lot tonight, did not feel there was a lot of melody going on to latch onto. And also the judges picked up on this. She was quite nervous when she started off and got better, but for something like that, the performer needs to sell it. Like at Cirque du Soleil, it's not tentative commitment to throwing yourself off a cliff dressed as an elephant. It's full throttle. I'm an elephant, but I'm a beautiful one. And yes, I can jump to my death and not die. And it's that kind of a overselling that I don't think she had in the right place for it. So I'm in the same boat as you that this did not do a lot for me tonight.
It was the same 5 seconds that it started with, looped for 3 minutes. And that's why it didn't really engage any of us. It had no growth in it. She rocks a pantsuit, I'll give her that. But apart from that, it wasn't the way to close the show. And this semi-final was exceptionally strong, I thought, and exceptionally even across the whole field. That when you've had bigger singers, bigger stage performances before this was just like playing second, third, fourth fiddle in every element to other songs throughout the night. So it really just wasn't the way to close it, and it really gave zero impact.
Yeah, I would agree. I also, I actually thought at first that she was the interval act, and then suddenly realized there was another song left to go, which realization that was like, oh, yes, there's 9 songs, not 8. Yeah, this wasn't the best song we saw tonight.
3 quick comments from our viewers. Cindy Gilbert says, maybe I'm alone, but it seems too much like a stereotypical French song. Alexander Noble says, she was my second to last after Aqui. And William Savage, far too much energy in the performance for the song she was singing. Bit of a mismatch there. Interesting. All right, we turn to the next act, which was Pour Aqui, Tracy de Sá. You know what? I actually really loved this. I thought the staging was fantastic. It wasn't Sean Banan Melody Festival, and because this was serious. This is a song you could hear on the charts. It falls on the ears. Whiskey Cocktails, Rum, Rum, Rum. Yes, please to all 3 if Tracy de Sá is serving it. I loved how she was in a box, a neon box, and then she emerged from it. Let's just say she took what Suri did for the UK took it to the club. You know what I'm saying? She took Surrey's box to the club, and I was dancing right along. So much energy, so much sass. Check out on our Instagram page a video of her saying, we. She's amazing. She's got so much life, so much energy. And I just hope she realizes that this is not a reflection of her. She has an audience. Maybe it just wasn't this jury or the, the French viewers who are watching tonight, but she will find her audience and it will be big.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw a lot of people were talking about, was there something up with the vocal mix, the backing vocals and her own, and like, was there something going on? Because it sounded quite a lot as if there wasn't enough oomph where there should be, kind of from the backing vocals, and you could hear them kind of independent of one another. So vocal mix, I think, was probably a problem. So equally, this did just feel a bit messy to me. Like the performance, it wasn't as polished as I think it could have been. I also think actually Doutson at the top with his own kind of rap song, I think he almost looked better because this came across not as well. Like this felt much more hodgepodge, all quite rushed and sort of rushing to get to the next mark and catch up with the breath. And yeah, I mean the song, I'm not actually that impressed by the song. I would say I didn't like it that much to begin with, and I don't think the performance tonight was that great. So in a way, kind of a deserved result. However, she clearly has fantastic charisma. Like she was spitting Eminem's bars out like no tomorrow in her own cover. So I think she's very talented. Perhaps just come back with a better song.
Yep, one of my two favorites tonight didn't qualify. I thought this was flawless, and I think, when you say like, or people have said on Twitter that, vocally wasn't the best, who cares? She's killing it on stage with her movements. It has the catchiest line of this whole national final season's whiskey cocktails, rum, rum, rum. I'm going to be saying that all day now. And yeah, very undeserved. When you think of like Jessie Matador, yes, didn't do that well at Eurovision, but still one of the biggest Eurovision songs of all time. It still is one of the most played YouTube songs of all time. This could have been that if they just gave it a chance, and nobody gave it a chance.
They denied de Sá, and now de Sá will deny them a global hit. Okay. 3 comments from our readers. Alexander Noble, she took it to a bankrupt club. Darcy Cox, she had Suri staging, but not her vocals. Good at rapping and dancing, though. Luca Passfield, Tracy was amazing, and she was so robbed. Argy ESC, he sums it up nicely. Robbed queen. Okay, someone took her crown, y'all. All right, and wrapping up this semifinal, in last place, we have Noémie with Ma Petite Famille. To me, this seemed like the type of performance you would see if you went to your local shopping mall. The song didn't really go anywhere. It was very pleasant. It was like a tablecloth, a nice tablecloth that you're happy to eat on, but you ain't gonna remember it when you're at your next meal. You know what I'm saying? When you move on. It just felt very pedestrian. I think she's beautiful and has a great voice, but I think the song was too mellow. And at Eurovision, you need something high impact and immediate. And this, it just was neither of those things.
I agree. I just don't think anything tonight really went together for it. I mean, the song itself was quite kind of lounge music-y, like there wasn't a lot to it. Then she was in the tartan dress against the red polka dot background, so she kind of blended, but at the same time clashed a bit. And then there was the whole, like, all the scenery is moving behind her in like various stages, but then she starts off to walk around, and just the whole thing felt a bit aimless to me. Like, could have done with much stronger direction to it. Lovely voice, lovely lady. The song and sort of stage direction performance were not, well, evidently were not the best tonight. It just wasn't very good, I didn't think, even against the rest of the competition. Nothing really went together with it. I have to say, sorry. There wasn't a lot to this.
Yeah, this is how you don't stage a song like this. This was lounge. She has a very pretty voice. Like, if you took away all the stuff they were throwing at you with the tartan dress that clashed with the strawberry background, that clashed with the backup singers that were too animated for her and the song. And then she goes into the crowd, and the thing that annoyed me the most was the X Factor level confetti that they were throwing at her. It's like, this is not a winner's performance. You can't just throw confetti at things and make it stick. But she had a beautiful voice. I said if they just basically stood her on a stool and she made this loungy, it could have done really well. It's just the staging was completely mismatched to the performance.
Yusuf says, I think there were issues with the confetti. It fired too early. Panbox, Naomi, honestly, felt like the only song that should not have qualified of the 18 in the selection. Matthew ESC, I think it was too plain and basic to make an impact. It was a deserved last place and the weakest of the whole contest. Boyan Bogisevic, are you related to Tiana? Says Naomi was flat and forgettable, or it was forgettable. He's judging the song, not the person. Well, look, that was our like song by song. I'm going to give you guys the opportunity, your final thoughts. If you want to name your winner for the overall Destination Eurovision, who you think is going to be continuing in the final. I'll kick this off. I think that that Bilal Hassani has a massive fan base, and he is still in this. I think his biggest challenger is Seemone, just looking at the strength of her jury score tonight. Emmanuel Moire, I mean, I think a lot of 40-year-old women would vote for him. I just don't know how many of them will be watching the grand final. Obviously, he won the televote tonight, so what am I saying? Bilal's going to take the televote in the final. This is a fact. So I think how the jury rates Bilal relative to the other, contenders is going to make the difference. If the jury keeps Bilal near the top, he looks like he's got this. Yeah.
I actually would. So my thinking is, if you look at the makeup, so I think really the front runners from last week is Bilal, but also Seemone, and then from this week, Seemone and Emmanuel. However, my thing is that Seemone, Seemone, not even sure I'm saying it right, and Bilal are all the same kind of radio pop sound. Even if they all have their own different things going on, they're all alike. Whereas Emmanuel is the wild card avant-garde one that's a bit out there. So my thinking is, as we often see where entries cancel each other out because they split the field, Emmanuel doesn't really have a lot of avant-garde, kooky Frenchness going on to rival him for that. So I almost think he's going to win. Probably are the people left that I want to win. The one I would want to win that's left is not in this semi-final. I actually really like Seemone's song, so I would like that to win. But yeah, I, on a limb, would say I think Emmanuel is going to do quite well next. Is the final next weekend? Whenever the final is, I think he's going to do pretty well.
Bilal still has work to do. So we were saying last week, he still has to work on his vocals. There's got to be a lot that's going to be cleaned up. Seemone is pretty much ready apart from slightly boring staging. Emmanuel needs to fix up his vocals. And then the other one I can't remember from last week will get nowhere. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a toss-up between Bilal and Seemone. And if Seemone really engages emotionally, like cries after the performance again, really captures the crowd attention, she could really knock it out of the park next week. And my money would be probably objectively on Seemone to win it. But Bilal will be up there if he improves his performance from last week.
Vote C to the, vote C to the. She's going to be singing that in the next week, at least I hope so. In any case, some quick comments from our readers. Mellow Equinox says Bilal. Mellow XX says Bilal will top the televote. He has a great song, but vocally it's Seemone. She's stronger, so it would be interesting to see this battle. Damien says Bilal. Boyan says Bilal will win, though not deserved. I hope for Seemone. Yeah, so it's a lot of Bilal and Simone's being thrown out with a few divas. In any case, that is what we think. What do you think? Who is your personal winner of Destination Eurovision overall? Who was your winner tonight? Who got screwed over the hardest? Let us know here on wiwibloggs.
Make sure to subscribe to the channel and then go visit the website and all our social channels to like and follow us at wiwibloggs.
And keep watching us next week. And 5 words, whiskey, cocktails, rum, rum, rum. Let's celebrate tonight.
Oh, yes, I loved that. And you guys, I'm going to add everyone's handle on Twitter and Instagram in the description so you can follow Angus, Sebastian, and me, please. And we will see you later. Bye.